Hello and welcome to the Youth Wellbeing Conference 2021. We are the Youth Ambassadors. My name is Charlie.
My name is Zach.
And today we have a panel of special guests to help discuss young people's health and wellbeing during, after and beyond COVID. So on the panel, I'll let Zach introduce our panel members.
So we have Sue from Mind, Elsie from the Lowdown, Teresa from CAMS, Victoria from Public Health, and I believe we have Dr. Ita Mukambika as well.
So while we get the panel members ready, we've got a short TikTok about the rule of 6 to show you.
Hey, yo, Beats!
Nice to meet ya. Stephen Froze, Risa, Christian Dior, Christian Dior, Jesus. Nice to meet ya.
So we'll just bring the panel members onto the screen now and they can introduce themselves.
And if you have any questions, put them in the chat.
So here is Sue from Mind, and I'll just let her say a little bit about what she does.
Yeah, so I work for Mind in Northampton. We've been running the Crisis Cafe throughout the whole lockdown. So in Northampton, that is on a Monday and a Tuesday from 12 until 10 o'clock at night, and a Saturday from 2 o'clock until 10 o'clock at night. You don't need any appointment to drop in there, and you know, people come in for a whole variety of different situations. They may be in severe crisis, or they may just be struggling a little bit with their mental health. So we welcome everyone in, and you will be seen on a one-to-one basis, and we can kind of guide you through sort of different options, what's kind of relevant for you. We can give you tips on kind of staying positively mental well health. We've also been running online, we've been running courses online on Zoom calls, and the Fresh Minds, which is for 18 to 25-year-olds, that group has been running online. We are looking to be due open again on May 17th. So then we'll have all the sort of full remit of courses and classes and kind of activities that people can get involved with. But if you're struggling, you know, sort of during the lockdown times, then drop into the Crisis Cafe, or there's also the 24-hour hub telephone number, which I can give out, or, you know, I don't know. Am I meant to be looking at questions on the chat as well?
Yeah, so we'll just give some time for people to put some questions in now, so we can. Sophia's just going to talk a little bit about her experiences, and then if people start to put questions in the chat, we can come back to you after and answer some questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem at all. Yeah.
Oh, Sophie, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. So I was going to talk about like my experience of lockdown. I didn't have a very good experience because I really struggled with my mental health, especially at the start and the second one, which meant that like I got like really suicidal because I felt very trapped and lost. And obviously I wasn't living with my mum and dad at the time either, and not being able to be with my family, I found it hard because being with other people was how I sort of coped. So then I ended up speaking out to my dad about my thoughts, and then I ended up going to an NHS crisis house for a bit to be out of the environment I was in and to sort of get the help that I needed, because I just didn't know how I was going to get through lockdown, and that was like at the start. So then I found some like coping mechanisms and stuff, and I got the right help, which meant for the next lockdown I was more prepared and I could handle. I think as well, it's hard sometimes to speak out because you don't want to be seen as like sensitive, or like some people don't want to be seen as weak, but it isn't a weakness, it's a strength to speak out, because it means you're recognizing how you're feeling and you're acting on it. I think there's a lot of stigmas around like people say women are too emotional and sensitive, and that guys need to man up, which is why men tend to not speak up as much as women. because they feel like they have to be the strong dominant one, which is obviously not how it is. We're all human and we all have feelings and we all are important. So it's important that how you feel, you know, you speak out to who you feel comfortable with, and then that you're accessing the right help, and just making sure, like, you're like, even if friends and stuff that you're noticing, like, sometimes like change, like, are they coming out as often, are they speaking to you as often, are they you know, just check up on people every now and again.
What was something that you think really helped you? Is there anything you would recommend to anyone, Sophia?
I think the thing that really helped me was taking time for myself. It's like, was because I tend to be someone that gives so much to everyone else, I forget that I need to do something for me as well. So I found new hobbies. So like, I done boxing. I started doing boxing, and then I ended up buying myself a punch bag for the garden, and then using that as an escape. So that's what I found worked for me. And then also, like, just the person that, obviously my dad was the person I could speak to. So it was like, whenever I felt something, I always knew that I could talk to him. So it was just accessing that, and like him as well, making himself available for me. So just having that person there to listen to you and stuff.
Yeah, we've got some other panel members that I think can join us now. So we've got Ellie from the Lowdown and James, who will just come on screen. So if you've got any questions for anyone, you can feel free to put those in the comments. But I'll just go around and maybe we can just introduce some of our new panel members. So Ellie, would you like to say a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, my name's Ellie and I'm from the Lowdown service. We help 11 to 25-year-olds with counselling, wellbeing, health and LGBT services. We're based in town centre in Northampton.
Thank you. And Terry from CAMS, would you like to say something?
Hi everyone, so my name is Terry Callis. I work in CAMS Connect, so part of Northamptonshire wider CAMS service. We provide a CAMS consultation line, so a telephone line that's open from 9 AM till 9 PM to help young people, parents and professionals if they've got a concern about a young person with mental health issues. We also have an online messaging service at the same time. We do professional training in school alongside a kind of wider CAMS specialist intervention for children with mental health difficulties.
Thank you. We've also got Victoria joining us from Public Health. I should let her introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Victoria. I work in Public Health for the county councils, or the Northampton West and North now. We cover the whole of the county, and I'm the children's practitioner and work with young people on any sort of health related topic, including COVID and also mental health and wellbeing.
Thank you. And finally, we've got James.
Hello, everybody. So I'm James. I'm the specialist online youth worker with Free to Talk that we operate in and out of Northampton. I think everybody knows us, really, running all our little youth groups. But yeah, I'm just really here to help facilitate this. This is my little project, really, been doing all the stuff online, and I do a bit of online gaming as well. So any questions about that kind of stuff and how that can improve your mental health, just let me know.
So as James said, if you've got any questions, feel free to put them into the comments now and we can ask them. But just to start, if maybe we can ask a few questions. So is there any sort of lasting effects, maybe Ellie from the Lowdown, is there any sort of lasting effects that you think lockdown's going to have on mental health?
Moving forward, I think it will be the fact of connection. A lot of young people out there are wanting to kind of get that connection, but having Zoom and things like this over the screen is really good to support people and to connect people. We had to set up the remote service, so we're doing a lot of our counselling online and via the telephone. When we went into the first lockdown, we had to have a quick turnaround to be able to provide the services because we couldn't do face-to-face, and that's one thing that the Lowdown will definitely be being able to provide, as well as the face-to-face moving forward. But I think the having life on screen is definitely something that people are going to have to, or we're all used to it now, but definitely have it in their lives moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be sort of a long term. Sue, is there anything that you think you would add about sort of lasting effects?
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of had to sort of really kind of look at what their priorities are, and everyone is learning how important you know, your mental health is. And thanks, Sophie, for sharing, you know, what you were saying, is that kind of, you know, everyone needs to sort of learn that self-care is not being selfish. It's a really vital part of life, that, you know, every single one of us has mental health, which fluctuates up and down during certain periods. And during this pandemic, many people have been very, very isolated and, you know, afraid to go out. They're told, don't go out, it's not safe out there. So everyone is kind of having to look, you know, and when we work with people, we make it person-centered. So, you know, what you know is right for you is for you. Like you were saying, Sophie, about brilliant idea about boxing, and everyone has to sort of just look at their own lives and kind of decide, I need to do this, this and this to kind of stay well, and make sure you have time to do it. Make sure you've got that time in place to do it. And as well, you know, of course, online, you know, working from home, things are going to be different from now on anyway, just because that's the sort of new world we live in. You know, we're going to have to do connecting online and connecting, you know, by working from home a lot more, you know, and yeah, this is kind of how we're going to live now, I think.
Yeah. So sort of by extension from that, if we're thinking about maybe what we could do to help ourselves or our friends, Terry, is there something that you could recommend on things that we could do to maybe help ourselves or anyone else that we know?
Yeah, I think just to add, I think one of the things that we're seeing in CAMS is an increase in children struggling with problems in relation to eating. And I read the recent Sunday Times article on Tourette's and tics, so seeing an increase in that. And I think it's part of it is about not having access either through schools or with friends and peers to really capture that initial struggle with mental health and wellbeing. So it really ties into what Sue was saying about self-care, but also being able to have connections with other people, whether that is peers and friends, whether it's people in schools, whether it's online, or, you know, to be able to pick up and go, actually, I'm not okay. I might need some support at whatever level that is, because I think we're seeing people come in at a stage when they're feeling a lot worse, and we'd much to capture people when at those early stages. So as Sue said, I think wellbeing is really important, and unfortunately within, I think, our current society, there's a little bit of there's two rules: look after yourself but work hard, look after yourself but work hard. And we're good to get a little bit better at being able to get that balance, I guess. And I see that in kind of messages that come from schools, in messages that come from employers. So I think we need to get better as a whole society at doing that, and just noticing the person you're sitting next to, and being brave enough to say and have permission to look after your well-being and mean it, and not be tokenistic for me.
Yeah, Sophia, did you have any thoughts? I know that you sort of went through your own sort of struggles. Do you have any advice for anybody?
My advice is just that, like, just don't feel like makes you weak to speak up about how you feel, because that's not what it is. It's the strength. I think if someone hadn't told me, I don't think I would be like here today, because then I wouldn't have spoken up, you know. And it's like, as well, it's hard to recognize, like, it's not just like, I'm feeling sad today. It can be anything. Like, you don't have to be sad all the time either, or like feel anything. You could be angry, you could be upset, you could be disappointed, you could feel guilty. It's anything, because you can be happy 1 minute and then something drops you instantly as well. I think people as well, some like things that maybe you used to enjoy, you don't find enjoyment out of anymore. But it's just like recognizing your feelings and being like, okay, I'm not okay, and then finding like just accessing the help, you know. There's a lot of help out there. There's websites that you can, there's a lot of but there's also one thing that I do now as well is meditation, which I find helps as well. So like, there's a lot of apps, like there's that app Headspace, which is quite good as well, and that just like clears your mind, so you can prepare yourself for the day, and then after you can like prepare yourself after everything you've been through, just let it go. But it's just communication. But I think as well, people don't speak, because when they do, some people are just like, oh, you'll be okay, like, oh, just shrug it off. So it's like important just to, if someone is telling you how they feel, make sure you are listening. You're not just like making them feel like what they're saying isn't important.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing your experience. I know that can help And you touched on Headspace there. I'm not sure if anyone else knows any sort of good sort of link to meditation or anything else that they'd recommend that anybody tries.
Calm is another app that you can use, which is a bit similar to Headspace, but that's got some kind of how to meditate and give some time for yourself, which I think, as Sophia said, that's really important at recognising that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, Terry, I think you recommended Calm as well. Was there another one that you thought was particularly good?
Yeah, so if you wanted a CBT, so cognitive behaviour therapy, an organisation called Helios have developed something called Think Ninja, and my understanding is that's currently free for young people. So if you wanted a specific one that would help you kind of manage anxiety, so with a bit of graded exposure, Think Ninja's a really good start for that you can access straight away without kind of going to an organisation.
Yeah, I think one thing is now we've got this roadmap leading out of it. I'm not sure if Victoria, you had anything to add about the roadmap or about sort of how you help your mental health sort of through the next sort of few weeks or months as we sort of move gradually out of lockdown.
So yeah, I think it's definitely very important that we look after our mental health and well-being. And I think the good thing about the roadmap is that it's actually given us clear sort of indication, as a lead out of it. And as we are allowed to do more things, people have got more opportunity to meet up with friends and to do things that maybe they used to do. And it's almost easing ourselves back into maybe the life that we somewhat had before all of this happened. So I think this is definitely provides, I know it's only small steps, and that's very important that we take those small steps, but I think those small steps give us opportunity to do things that we enjoy. Some of us have been able to meet up with more than one friend, which is quite nice, because then meeting a group of people is different to having a conversation with just one person, as we all know. And as the weather gets better, we can do things outdoors, you can do physical activity and things like that. So, and it's just doing stuff that makes you happy, really, because at the end of the day, like we were saying, boxing is a good form of exercise, but probably not something that I personally would take up because I have other interests. So I think it's for, everyone needs to find that one thing that makes them happy. And if that's just being around people, then that's great. So I think, the roadmap is definitely providing us with more opportunity to do things, to look after ourselves, to do that self-care bit. And for those who are probably slightly anxious around going out again and meeting people, then that's perfectly okay. We need to all sort of get used to that new normal everyone is talking about, and still protect ourselves and everybody else. So I think by following the guidance and the restrictions that are on there, we can make sure we're all safe, and we're doing this in a safe way. But there's also stuff we can do now, and I think personally that's very exciting, and that will definitely help our mental health and well-being going forward.
Thank you. And there's lots of other sites I know that with so many comments now. So if you want to look at any of those, and I'm sure we'll be able to share some of those afterwards. But I know part of this, or you could just see them on the screen there. Part of this roadmap is lots of students will be aware of sort of the lateral flow test that we're doing in school, and we've got a short video that sort of explains some of that for you to watch now. And of course, if you've got any other questions, please take this chance to put them into the chat, and hopefully we can answer them afterwards.
I wear this on Monday, wear this on Tuesday, wear this on Wednesday, wear this on Thursday, wear this on Friday, wear this on Saturday, wear this on Sunday.
So that was a short video about the importance of mask wearing, but there's a comment on there now about Northampton Sport. Keen with anyone interested in organising physical activity. I'm not sure if Zach, you had anything you wanted to add.
Well, I wanted to ask about coping mechanisms and techniques you use. So we heard from Sophia earlier about the boxing thing you brought for your garden, but I was wondering if anyone else had any ideas. Sue, should we start with you? Techniques and coping mechanisms?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, it's a very personal thing, and I think when you're well, it's good at kind of writing your own things to sort of do, you know, your own piece of music that you like to listen to, or you know, a particular friend that is very sympathetic, or you know, have support phone numbers. Try to just go out for a walk or get some fresh air, you know, and everyone's got their own things, and it's about kind of creating a kind of plan for yourself. You know, I need to do this every day, and or you know, when I'm feeling really bad, to try to distract myself, maybe, you know, using this and this. And you know, you talked about meditation. Again, there are many meditations online. You know, it's about finding one that works for you. So just keep kind of experimenting, and you know, I think in mental health there isn't kind of one size fits all. It is about sort of people suggesting to each other, oh, have you tried this, or you know, try that, and you find your own things. You find your own things that work for you, and then you write it down, and then you've got something to refer to when you're in that moment and you can't really, you know, you can't see out of it. You've got something written down. Try this, try this, try this, and you just run through your own list.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree. Terry, do you have anything to add?
I was just connecting to what you'd said, Sue. So we sometimes use something called a base log, which is a body, achievement, connection, enjoyment. So it's kind of, it's a strategy. So to think about what it is that helps you. So it might help you, and it is so individual. So for example, if I were to watch TV, I find TV doesn't keep my mind busy enough. So I might be more likely to pick up my fingers, for example, if I'm watching TV. So it's not really that relaxing for me. But that for someone else, they might find TV really relaxing. So it is finding what works for you, what helps you feel enjoyment, achievement, connecting with people. And everyone will be very different, because some of us might be more drawn towards a more introvert. And so it's quiet space that helps us, whereas somebody else would find that incredibly difficult because they have thoughts that come when they're in a quiet space. So it is really individual. So although we can recommend, you know, we definitely look at activity levels, look at what helps you connect with other people, look at the people that you're spending time with and who helps you feel good about yourself, and try and screen out those people that maybe don't help you feel good about yourself. Because often we might find that we end up with people that don't help us feel better. So trying to kind of limit the amount of time we might spend with them and increase the amount of time we spend with people that do help us to feel good about ourselves, help us to feel a bit better, make us smile. Sometimes that's about comedy and it's humor and being able to have a light-hearted conversation. Sometimes that's about someone who can help us feel emotionally validated, so can really listen. But sometimes I don't know whether anyone comes across people that want to fix a problem, and so they tell you what you should be doing or what you ought to be doing. And actually, when we're feeling really rubbish, we don't really want to hear should and oughts, because that just adds to the evidence of we're not doing what we should be doing. Yeah, I could talk about this for a long time, so I'll stop there.
Thank you. Thanks. Victoria, do you have anything you want to say about coping mechanisms? How did you deal with lockdown and things like that? Yeah.
I very much echo what the other two have said already. There is something also, just to add to the strategies there, something called the 5 ways to wellbeing, and that's very much also about you know, connecting with others, reaching out maybe to people who I haven't spoken to in a while, being active. Giving, I think I personally find that quite rewarding as well. I've got a couple of elderly friends who obviously I've not been able to see for the whole of the last year, and it was just as simple as dropping them some flowers off, you know, the other day, and you know, and having a quick chat, sitting in the garden, and just to see how they are. And that for me is very rewarding, just to kind of give to others. And again, it's things like learning new things as well, new skills. I mean, I think a lot of people have done that and sort of, you know, ventured into new hobbies, and obviously as much as possible. But also, you know, taking notice what's going on around you and being aware. And again, it is that finding that one thing that makes you happy. And I'm very much into music and those kind of things. And sometimes when I have a bit of a moment, I just put a song on that I really like, and you know, something, even if it's totally cheesy or whatever, you know, turn it right up and have a bit of a dance along, I don't know, and then that's a few minutes, and then I'm usually, you know, puts a smile back on my face. So that's something I do, or I did quite often throughout lockdown, and it helps. So it's finding that one thing that sort of can cheer you up quickly, you know, and yeah.
Thank you. And Ellie, your opinions on techniques and coping mechanisms?
Yeah, I was just going to say, echo what everybody else has said as well. I was also going to mention 5 ways to well-being. So you picked me to the post with that, Victoria. But there's other ways. Breathing techniques is always a good thing if you're in the moment and feeling anxiety. You know, kind of breathing in for a few seconds and then kind of having a big release of breath can be very helpful. Talking to somebody. And having, as Sue said, having somebody there that you know that you'll be able to talk to, and that could be a friend, it could be a parent, but it could also be organisations like us, because the biggest thing that we get is the fact that we're not somebody that's involved in the situation. So we're not a parent, a friend, we're somebody that's a bit removed from that. But also, for me, coming out of lockdown, you've had all your time to yourself, and then you're going to be going into people asking you to do things, going into the parks and everything. And maybe planning your week, planning your day is a good thing, but also planning your week and giving yourself time for you, as well as kind of the demands of coming out of lockdown and going to school, and that can be quite anxiety provoking to think that you've got lots of things to do and to handle coming up in your week. But if you give yourself time, but also time for socialising and schoolwork, then that can be helpful as well.
Thanks. Any other questions, Charlie?
One thing maybe we could touch on is, when should people reach out? I know obviously lots of people have struggled for a bit. When do you think people should reach out to friends or to other charities like you? So I'm not sure if you had any sort of, for anyone who's not sure who they should reach out to.
So I think, you know, Sophia touched on it earlier, is about kind of not letting it get, if you can, not letting it get to a point of, you know, real genuine crisis if you can. And that might be, you know, just to check in with people that you are okay that day, or, you know, you're having a bit of a wobble about this, that and the other. And it's about kind of learning to name your own emotions, you know, and what's caused them, and that's sort of part of understanding what your own triggers are as well. You know, if you've seen a certain person, they might have triggered something in you, you know, quite buried, or, you know, it's just kind of getting your own self-awareness of kind of what triggers you and what helps you, you know. So, you know, you've got kind of a lot of different options available. So you know, that depends on, like somebody was saying earlier, whether you're introspective or, you know, extroverted. It's kind of, some people need to talk a lot, other people don't, you know, but they may need to just check in with themselves even, you know. How am I doing today? You know, why did something upset me so much? You know, what's that about? You know, and kind of just checking in about what's going on with yourself.
Yeah, I think it can be very different for different people. James, I'm not sure if you had something you wanted to reflect on that.
I mean, I've just got, from my point, obviously being an online specialist at the moment, I'm echoing what everyone else has said about using your own coping mechanisms. But I just want to point out, don't be afraid to use the technology that you've got, because I think with all these apps of mindfulness, I've used them, but a lot of those videos for apps are also on YouTube, you know, which is accessible without having to download an app most of the time, because it's already on your phone. And I know we've been forced to kind of do this whole thing through this screen in front of us, but being able to just do it a few times, or for some people it's more accessible to them because they don't actually want face-to-face contact. So that kind of realization and re-examination of yourself and others, and understanding that, go for it. You know, I think this has changed how our lives go forward completely, but that doesn't mean you have to just to adhere to this screen. I mean, for example, even though I spend my life, I mean, because I've had to be in isolation pretty much for the last year, my only reliance has been through this screen, but that doesn't mean I still don't go out. You know, still go out and get your sunshine, have your walks, do other things, try and eat healthily. You know, just examine yourself, question yourself and others, and work out what's the best for you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ellie, was there anything about when people should, I suppose I know it's very sort of individual for different people, but I'm not sure if you had anything that you could help with there.
Yeah, it is individual, but it's at the point, I suppose, when so those self-help techniques are not working for you, or you feel like you need to reach out and talk to somebody, or talking to somebody that's not involved in a situation, that's not in the home life, that's kind of immediately around you, or friends. I know it can be, as James said, online as well. But if you do feel like you need to speak to somebody, so there is charities like us. You can come to the Lowdown. We've got the counselling service that you can come and get support through on an ongoing basis. But we've also got the Espresso Yourself Cafe, where you can just drop in face. We are doing that now, and also remotely, so over the phone. And it might just be that day that you need to speak to somebody. So kind of going through the whole counselling process might not be what you need. But being able to talk to somebody on that day, because say somebody said something, somebody's upset you, you're not feeling completely right, you want to reach out, then there is services out there that you can speak to immediately. So yeah, it is individual, but just knowing that other people are there is the first step.
Yeah, thank you. And obviously we can share some, as we have already, some links to these if anyone would like to speak to anyone and advice on where to look. Just Terry, I know we spoke about obviously when, and obviously you can reach out to some of the charities or friends, but is there anyone else that people could reach out to, or if they don't necessarily want to speak to someone in particular? Have you got any advice on
that? Yeah, I mean, there is it's finding the right service for you as well that fits what you need. So whether that is online, telephone, face to face, as Ellie said, there's quite a lot of partnership working in Northamptonshire now, where we've joined services up and we're able to offer support really to people whether they do want to come in and talk to somebody. So our online messaging service, for example, is open 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. and you can come on that and just say, I'm anxious. You don't even have to give your name, your date of birth. Tell us who you are in the first instance, and we will try wherever possible to try and support you. Just with how you're feeling that day, that moment, because actually everyone's different. Some people have got a really great, solid network of people that they can go to, and for lots and lots of reasons other people haven't. So sometimes that network comes through more of a professional route than it does your family and friends, and that's okay too. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say I'm struggling, and it's okay to have a bad day. I think one of the things I'd say about coping strategies is sometimes you're just able to do that and try and be kind to yourself and say, okay, it's one of those days. What can I do to just accept that it's one of those days and help myself a little bit? What do I need, rather than what I should or to do or must do?
Yeah, thank you. I know you've shared lots of links that we've put in the chat. I just wanted to give Sophia, if you would like to say anything else on that. I know that you sort of went through an experience.
I think for me, I spoke out a little too late, just in time, because I remember the day when I actually spoke out, because I was at work and I didn't even want to go to work, and then one thing triggered me, and I just broke down around my dad, and I was like, you need to come and help me, because otherwise something bad's going to happen. And then it was literally after that I was taken into hospital, and it was it's time to get the help. I do look back and think I should have spoken out sooner, then I wouldn't have been suffering for so long. And then one thing that I do sometimes, if I'm having a really bad day, I will call the Samaritans. I find that you can call them, there's no judgment, and it's just having that other person to listen to, because sometimes it is easier to talk to a stranger because they don't know you, they can't judge, and it's like it's like talking to a friend. It's really I quite enjoyed it, because afterwards I felt like a weight had been lifted. So that's another good one to speak to. But yeah, it's just, but I think we're all individuals and we have our own experiences, and sometimes there's never a right time either. It just happens. Okay, now I need help. But yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that with us. And I know that can be hard to go through, really helpful. So the Samaritans was another good recommendation there.
Could I also Can I just mention Shout as well? Shout offer a text service. So again, we've talked about, finding the thing that's right for you. I personally like face-to-face, but, some people don't. And Shout, you can just text in, so you don't have to actually speak to anyone. Often people, don't want to speak. So Shout is a good one. I've got the number if you can't find it.
Yeah, so it was Shout and the Samaritans there. So we'll put all of these in the comments and you'll be able to find them afterwards as well. So if you've been around Northampton, there's you may have seen some of the new adverts. This is not a game, or you might have heard it on the radio. So there's a new landing page for that, which we can show you now. And there are 2 fun games, which you should be able to see on the screen there. So there's one called White Snake to the Rescue, and then Health Run game, which is on the screen. So James is just going to play one of those for you now, and we'll share the link. So these are games which you can play, which just a little fun. You can share your score and all around sort of helping to follow the guidance. And then when you've finished, you can share your score to your social media as well. And if you go on this website, you can see that James is just scrolling through now. There's the roadmap on there, as well as some of the safety basics. But this was a site that was set up to sort of deviate from your traditional guidance and the government websites that you might be all too familiar with. So this is meant to be a lot more accessible, a lot more fun, and be able to share the information in a bit more of a friendly way. So there's also the TikTok on there, which we'll play again later with help with the lateral flow testing. But we'll post the link to this website in the chat, and you can go and have a look at some of these games, maybe play one, and then share it with your friends as well. But hopefully you'll start to see some of these posters around the Northampton area. So if you've got any questions as well, you can put those in the chat. I think, have we got the lateral flow testing video that we can share with you now, which is short?
Hiya! So a lot of kids in the UK have went back to school or uni recently, which is most likely why you're seeing this video. And as most of you are aware, you will be having to do a test 2 to 3 times a week. So I thought I'd make it a little bit less terrifying. So I'm going to do a test right now and I'm going to walk you through it step by step. So I'm quickly throwing my hair to keep it out of the way. I've cleaned the surface, and of course I've washed my hands for 20 seconds with hot and soap. I've now got everything set up, so let's get started. So this goes in here. And then this little tube just goes into this snazzy little extraction tube holder. Yeah. Then you want to go and gently blow your nose, just to get any stuff that might be up there out. Then wash your hands again, or you can use a hand sanitizer like I just did. Now's the scary part. Peel the swab. Peel the swab. So with this end of the swab, we're going to rub it against our tonsils, or where they would have been, 4 times on each side. Here goes. That was quite awkward. Now with the same swab, pick a nostril, any nostril, and gently push it up until you feel a slight resistance. Once it's up there, you want to swivel it round 10 times. It's very tickly. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze and it won't come out. That's the scary part over though. And now we get to do the sciencey part. So you need to put the tip of the swab into the tube without touching the tube. And then we're gonna stir it around, pushing it against the side of the tube for 15 seconds. Like this. As you remove it, make sure you pinch the side of the tube to remove all the liquid from the swab. Then we can put the swab in the little plastic bag they provide. Bloop. Then you want to put the cap on and make sure you push it right in. Using this tube, we're going to drop 2 droplets into this section just here, which is the specimen well. Like that. Then you can put this in the same bag as the swab. Set a timer for 30 minutes because that's how long it will take for you to see the result. And I'll see you in 30 minutes. So it's now been 30 minutes and I have checked. So I have 1 line next to the C, which means I'm clear or negative, which means I am not infectious at this point in time. I am not positive. However, as I just mentioned, this test only accounts for that 1 point in time. So regular testing is important because whilst you may not have tested positive, you could end up contracting it later in the day or even the day after, in which you would then be infectious. Regular testing will pick it up quicker, allowing less time for it to be passed on to anyone else. If when you test you are positive, this booklet which comes with the kit will tell you exactly how to report it to the NHS. But that is all from me. Happy testing, guys. Mwah.
Sorry for some of the audio issues there, but that was a short video about the lateral flow testing, and this is something that a lot of students probably will be really familiar with now, and this is a great opportunity as it's being recommended more widely that maybe you can take this chance to maybe show your parents or another relative how to do it. And obviously you've had some experience, and this would be a great chance for you to be able to share some of that with other people. I'm not sure if Victoria could just add a little bit on sort of the importance of this testing moving forward.
Yeah, so obviously most young people will have experienced this in the last few weeks with their return back to school or colleges, and I know it's not an overly pleasant experience to do that, but as Charlie said, it's really important to actually test regularly so we can filter out anyone who might be positive and has not got any symptoms. So it's also called asymptomatic testing, which means that if you are infectious but you actually haven't got any symptoms, you are basically through the test made aware of it, and you can stay at home and protect everybody else, and you obviously can't spread it any further. And again, in line with the roadmap and everything that's happening at the moment, it's very important that we sort of have a combined approach to protecting everybody. So obviously we've got the vaccination program, which is being rolled out as we speak, and we've got a comprehensive testing program as well, with the PCR tests being obviously those more in-depth tests, and then we've got the lateral flow device tests as well that you will be really familiar with, and all of that will bring a combined effort to actually protect each other, and we will have to continue the testing, and whilst we're obviously rolling out vaccinations as well, throughout whilst the restrictions are being lifted, I guess. So we have to continue to do that to make sure we are safe, and we keep everybody else safe along that process. So thanks to everyone who's already doing it. Yes, Charlie is right. This has now been opened up to everybody. So we've got community testing sites. You can also order test kits online now for home testing. Lots of workplaces are encouraging their staff to do it twice a week, including ourselves, so we do it as well. And I think it's a really good way of keeping track and making sure that that you're okay, and also that you're protecting everybody else around you. So thanks to everyone who's doing it, and if you haven't given it a go yet, I think you should definitely try it. You don't want to miss out.
Thank you for that. And that video is on the Public Health Northants TikTok channel, and that video is on there with lots of other informative ones and some other ones. That was Public Health Northants, and we can share that. So you can, if you want to go take a look at that and maybe like some of the videos, there's some quite interesting ones on there for you. So if we go back to some of the questions, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. There's some people that have said that they were worried about the vaccine. I'm not sure if there's anything that we could add on that. Sue, I'm not sure if you had if there's anything you could add there.
Well, I've had both of my vaccinations now because I've been face to face sort of throughout. I fully endorse it. I think I can't really understand people's concerns, but I believe in science, so I can just share my own opinion. I'm fully for the vaccination.
Thank you for your candor. Ellie, was there anything else that some people that are sort of anxious?
Again, like Sue, I've had both of my my vaccines, and because I've been seeing people, and I don't have any concerns. This is again me personally. Like Sue said, I don't have any concerns with taking it, and the more that we can do to help us kind of go back to some kind of normality, whatever normality is now, then the better that we can do that.
Thank you. And Victoria, just in a second.
Yeah, obviously being public health and sort of being part of rolling out the vaccination program, I very much encourage everybody to get their vaccine. Personally, I don't have any concerns around that, but I do understand that there is a little bit of anxiety around that because the media has somehow, I don't know, portrayed a really, mixed picture, I guess, of what's happening. So I think if people do have concerns about it, obviously look on the websites. The government, has comprehensive information about it. The NHS, you can always speak to your GP as well if you've got any concerns about that. But I would very much encourage everyone to go and have their vaccine, because it will protect you. And I think people sometimes don't realize, I think that even a basic coverage or having the vaccine will protect you from having a severe cause of the illness as well. And also then again protecting everybody else around you, because then you're less likely to spread it, you're less likely to contract it, and if at all, and if you do, then you're going to have a way, the course of it will not have a severe course. So it's actually again protecting the NHS. So if you can go and have your vaccine, I should definitely recommend you do so.
James, is there anything you wanted to add on sort of the vaccine anxiety as final note?
Yeah, I mean, I think from my part, because of me being the technical geek, I think there's a lot of understanding people need to have about how the social media and all these news articles get out. In all honesty, don't just read Reddit or something on Instagram or something from like that and believe it. I kind of personally believe a doctor. It could just be me. I mean, I don't know if it is just me. But yeah, do read more around it. Don't just trust one source, because that's how you end up being blinkered eyes. And this is how we really have this profligation of like anti-vaxxers, really, which I think is more dangerous in a lot of ways. But for young people's like own kind of mental health in regards to this, I mean, just talk to us. We're in positions where we can help, or at least get the information, or and explain it in a different way, or like your teachers or parents. There's all these extra avenues you can get that information from. So I'm also a bit jealous that a lot of people have had 2 and I've only had my first one, especially consider I'm a carer as well. I mean, like, I want my second one. But yeah, but don't be afraid. I mean, I've had to do the lateral flow test several times as well, and it's you just get used to it,
No, thank you for that. I know that we've touched on a little of this before, and Sophia mentioned it, but is there any sort of things that possible signs to look out for linking to mental health, or maybe if it's something you could see in your friends that maybe you should maybe talk to them about, or talk to somebody else? Sue, I'm not sure if you had.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of whatever's out of the ordinary. So knowing what's kind of usual for you, and that comes in all sorts of different types and flavors. Everyone's different, but it's kind of noticing about your friend if they're acting slightly differently than they previously have, or becoming more withdrawn, or or the opposite. It kind of, there's no sort of real marker, but I think kind of it's just kind of noticing that something's a bit different than it usually is, as a sort of start point.
Yeah, no, looking for things that are slightly different than normal. Ellie, was there anything that you'd add onto the top of that?
Yeah, but Sue said it's somebody that might have withdrawn, or the opposite, might be kind of taking risky behaviours or doing something different that they wouldn't normally be doing. So they could be going more introvert, or being a bit more of an extrovert, and kind of doing things that they wouldn't normally do. Also, if you know that somebody's had a bereavement or has had something kind of go on in their lives that that can be quite difficult for them, is being able to be there. And it might not be at the time, it could be a couple of weeks later. Just kind of check in with friends or family members, because it might not be completely when the instance happens, but it could be a couple of weeks or even a couple of months afterwards. You don't know how long things can sit with people, and then how they react to it. So just keeping in touch with people, and yeah, just trying to be there for them if you do notice that they have any changes.
Yeah, that's really a good point. So just sort of being there for your friends. Victoria, was there something you wanted to add on to that?
No, it's pretty much exactly what Sue and Ellie have said. It's if somebody acts a little bit strange or different to what they would normally do, I think that's already kind of a sign, and it's probably worth investigating. And I think, everyone else that the other two have said around behaviors that are not normal for that person, because you would know as their good friend whether they're a bit, behaving a little bit strange or not. And then it's sometimes worth asking some questions or investigating. So
yeah, thank you. And sort of leading on from that, is there anything that you recommend that you do? So if you're noticing something that's a little bit different, what you might do with your friend, or whether you talk to them, or sort of that sort of first steps. Sue, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just about kind of everyone normalizing, that it's okay to not be okay, or to struggle at times, or, to find different things difficult. People have spoke about bereavements or incidents that have kind of triggered, but, even just sort of during the course of the day, your mood may up and down, various times, and that's okay as well. It's just kind of us getting used to sort of talking about these things regularly, and for it not to be a big deal. One day, you don't feel great all the day, and that's sort of how you manage to sort of see the two sides of, you're happy because you understand what being not happy feels like. So yeah, just getting familiarizing yourself and thinking it's okay to discuss these things regularly, really.
Yeah, it was great that Sophia was able to share sort of her experiences as well.
Yeah.
Ellie, is there anything you'd add on to the top of that?
You could also, if you do want to approach somebody and ask them how they're feeling, asking some open questions, so things that are not going to kind of go no, or kind of close down easily. So answering or asking open questions, and sometimes saying how you feel, and opening up about how you're feeling about something, or COVID, or your anxiety, that can help another person feel at ease. So then they feel able and feel comfortable to open up to you. And another important thing to think, if you ask them once and they don't respond to it, is to kind of don't think, oh, they didn't answer. I'm not going to ask them again. Is maybe kind of approach them in a different way. Sit down, have a drink with them, go to the park, have a walk. Sometimes kind of walking side by side with somebody rather than actually face to face. It could be via text, depending on how, if you know the person quite well, you probably get to know how they would want to be communicated with via text, or face to face. So just being able to be there for them.
Yeah, so having these sort of open conversations. James, is there anything you'd add on to sort of what things you'd do first if you notice something that's different?
I think with Ellie saying about using your own experiences, I've found with a lot of the young people I've worked with that if once you open up to them, they will open up back. And I think the same thing goes for friends. If you think they're acting differently, you open up to them and they will open up back, because you're sharing an experience. And the open-ended questions is very important, but you're not just going, oh, what's up? Oh, what's wrong? What's happened? With yes or no answers. Because automatically people will go, I do it all the time. No, nothing's up. Nothing's wrong. It's fine. But if you talk about your own experiences, I do it quite a lot with my colleagues, for example, from work, because I'm in a very isolated situation, and the young people I work with, I'm very honest about it because it helps me. And then they feel empathetic, and they will then share their experiences. I've had that many times through the last year, and it's good to share it, because you both basically go through that coping mechanism or way of working it out yourselves together, and it does build confidence in that.
Yeah, thank you. And finally, Victoria, is there anything you wanted to add on to that? I
think one of the things that I find really important is that whole thing about listening and the reaching out that we were saying earlier, because sometimes people may not be ready in that moment, and even though you've realized that something is wrong with them, or they're acting a little bit strange, and as much as you want to help them, they may not want your help, or they might not be ready to receive your help, because they're still going through some of those bits themselves to figure out where it all belongs, because sometimes it's a big mess in your head and you need to get it out in front of you to sort through it first, before you're ready to even talk to somebody about, even somebody who's really close. So I think it's really important to reach out, and even if people are not necessarily giving you the answer that you want, like Ellie was saying, It's making sure they know you're there and that you are still there and you're happy to wait, and that you will still be there when they are ready to have that conversation with you, and to let them, sort of approach you, I guess, when the time's right. So that sometimes I think is really important. And it's almost like listening even though nothing's being said. I don't know if that makes sense, but sometimes it's that kind of, you're there, you're listening even though nobody's saying anything, but you're still listening and waiting until they're ready. I don't know if that, but I find that quite important.
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all of our panelists. I know Terry had to leave slightly early, but Sue, Ellie, Victoria, thank you for joining us and being able to answer some of these questions. Sat, did you have something you'd like to?
Oh, I was just going to say thank you everyone for joining. It's very interesting, very helpful.
Thanks for having us all.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for,
pleasure.
taking the time.
So much.
No, it's been really helpful, and thank you to everyone who's watched. We at the start mentioned a competition. I think we've got a flyer that we can show you now, which sort of leads on from what we've been talking about today. So it's a share your pandemic experience with art. So it's sort of any type of art form, and we've extended the closing date to the 14th of May. So there's an email on there that you can contact. So it's just sort of sharing your experiences. So maybe that's linked to things we've talked about today, or things about starting lockdown, about your sort of worries about maybe coming out of lockdown. So it's just taking some time. And then there is a PS5 and some other prizes on offer. So it would be great if you'd like to enter that. And all the details are on there, and we can share that afterwards as well. So I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you again to the panelists who have shared some of their time to help answer some of your questions. And this is the second out of 3 conferences that we'll be doing. So stay tuned for our third one, and you can find out more information from Free to Talk about that. And we're looking for that to be sort of late May, early June. So when we're able to go out a little bit more. And if anyone would like to watch this or share this afterwards, it should be on YouTube. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Have a lovely, enjoy the